thanks everybody for making it tonight. Appreciate it. Sorry about the last meeting that we had to cancel. It just an unfortunate series of events. A lot of people couldn't make it, so we wanted to make sure we had as many voices as possible. Missing two tonight. Shar it's her. Is it her son or daughter? Daughter. Cammy. Okay, it's her birthday, so she's out for that. And then Roger had let me know that he had to work late tonight, so he wasn't going to be able to make it as well. On the agenda, first thing we've got is review the previous minutes. You've had those emailed to you. Does anybody have any changes, corrections, or additions to make to these? Everybody's good with those? Perfect. All right. Again, we don't have to vote on that since we're not taking any official actions in the committees, or at least in this committee, so we don't have to vote on it. We just want to make sure that they're accurate. So we keep them on file. Next up is the update on survey questions. Just wanted to give you a quick update where we're at on that.
I have a couple for you.
Great. We presented them to the City Council, not last night, but the meeting before. Got all of them but two back from them. And then I wasn't able to make it to the RDC meeting this morning, so Krista was there on our behalf and she got some extra ones for us. So a couple of them will be duplicates that I told them they didn't have to do twice. We've got two City Council members who are on the RDC, so I told them one was sufficient. So we've got collecting those and we'll put those together. I wasn't too concerned about going over those until we get those, the remaining ones from the City Council, and then also the EDC, which we haven't had a chance to get theirs yet either. So after we get all those together, I'll make copies of all the answers and replies, get them out to you, and then we'll use that as a basis for a future meeting, so we can look at those and see where we need to go from there. The main things that I wanted to talk about tonight, I wanted to discuss the website improvements that we need to make. So hopefully all of you have had a chance to take a look at the our website that we have up there. Starting with the name, it's buildfranklin.com, right? Not net. You can see it's a pretty static page. There are some things, like if you go to the frequently asked questions, that are clearly, have been on there for a very long time. So I wanted to just kick around some ideas that you might have had on how we can improve the site and what we need to do. I'll start by saying that I thought I had a student lined up who was really engaged and wanted to help us out and do a lot of the technical stuff for us. And unfortunately, he's pretty much fallen off the map because he's just stopped calling me back and everything else. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So we might have to look at some other options to help us there. But before we even have to worry about that, I think we need to have a better idea of what we want to do to the website.
Do we know what format it's in? This is WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
WordPress is.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, if I can figure it out.
It's kind of screwy because the FDC pays TLS.net to host the website.
$45.
$45 a month.
Right.
Why?
I don't know. So we called.
GoDaddy's $10 a year.
Right. So we called. Ronnie called, and you can.
They told me that they are no longer hosting it. Someone else is.
But we're paying them.
We're paying them. We're not paying someone else. So
Stop
I
paying.
don't really know what. Right. Well, and then we did. Angie and I both did look at some other website building spaces, and one of them was Squarespace. And it looks. We've heard it's very easy. It looked very easy.
And they have templates that you can drop stuff
You fill in
into that's
blanks.
really easy.
Yeah.
But it also has the mobile aspect to it. So if you pull it up on a phone, it's gonna be compatible instead of trying to fit this website onto your phone.
Yeah, I did that because a lot of the information when I fixed the Facebook page and everything, a lot of the information, like Krista's contact information, I pulled from the site because I'd much rather cut and paste than retype. But I was trying to do it through my iPhone and it was quite a chore.
Right.
Did you get the password for the Facebook page?
No, I just started a new one, and then
Okay.
once this one's up and running and everybody's using it, we can go to the old one and you can ping Facebook and say, look, this is duplication, this is our intellectual property. Facebook will kill it or merge it. So, but you have to have the other one up first.
And it doesn't have the original one doesn't even have a very good following. There's like 30 people maybe, and there's the last comments that were on there were from, I think, October.
There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
I looked up a couple different addresses. I don't know why we don't have a .org if we're a nonprofit. Maybe that makes more sense to reinforce that. FDC.org is taken. FranklinDevelopment.org is taken. So FranklinDC.org is available. FranklinDevelopmentCorp.org is available.
What about Franklin DEVCORP, Dev Corp?
I didn't try that. I mean, we can try it. I don't know. I mean, I could have tried on and on and on. So I
You obviously don't want it to be too long.
right. That was what I mean. Obviously, FDC.org would be great. But
What's the general thought? Currently, it's Build Franklin.
That's, I mean,
.com.
it's, I mean, that could be anything. I mean,
Right.
you know, I wouldn't stick with it. I just kill it.
Joe?
Are you able to track the analytics on it? Is there anybody going to that page, the website at all?
They probably don't have it set up
Probably
I mean,
for
you,
it to track.
well, and you can track some stuff, but I mean, it's, no one goes to it because no one knows how to find it, for one.
Right.
You're the one
There's
that
no way
I-
you're gonna Google search that. Yeah, you're not gonna.
It doesn't come up when you Google search.
It doesn't.
We
Frank-
tried it.
Franklin Development is taken. I mean, does anybody have any other suggestions?
What about Franklin Development?
Franklin dot what?
Development.
I just did a Google search on it, came up second.
I was gonna say, I put,
Oh, did you put
Would
some?
you
Yeah.
do Bill Franklin or?
I put in Franklin Development
Yeah, I
Corporation.
think
Oh.
Angie fixed that.
Angie fixed it, cause for a while you couldn't do it.
She optimized
It
it?
wouldn't come
Yeah,
up
she
at
did.
all. Franklin dot development isn't still working.
Cause before we were doing anything with it, we'd be like, what's that website again? Cause you couldn't
I couldn't
get there.
remember it. That one's pretty easy.
What about Development Franklin? Or developfranklin.org? I wonder about the FDC. I mean, we've got the FDC, we got the RDC, we got the,
Yeah.
we got the EDC.
Called DC.
The alphabet soup.
That one's available.
ACDC. I don't think that's a bad one.
What was that?
That one right there.
Develop Franklin.org, no, I like that.
It's a statement.
Let's see what's developfranklin.com.
But I like your idea that it needs to be an org, since we are. an
Mhm.
organization.
Right.
I think so.
Yep.
I just found the website to be so much, you know, it was almost like, it was overwhelming trying to figure out what on it, that where you wanted to go to find out what you wanted to find.
Less is really more on a website.
Wordy. maybe
Attention
that's- yeah,
spans
Wordy.
real.
Get
We
it
wanna put
done.
pictures.
People will give
We
up
wanna do
quick
some
off
before and
it.
after.
If you're more than 3 clicks away from your answer, you're gonna give up.
Yes, and I, to be honest, I mean, I was looking at it, and I got to about 3 tabs, and I'm like, oh, jeez.
I thought it was quite sterile too. It's just kind of just blue and white, and there's nothing to it. Just looks very,
Generic.
you know.
Ronnie's idea, you know, I mean, we need pictures on it. We
Right,
need-
before and afters.
It's
and-
be
And
very
we've got,
visual.
a
People
part-time
love-
guy, he's a college student, but we're paying him part-time, and he's got he's like 5 or 6 left.
Yeah,
I think.
he's got. most of
Every,
them.
even past projects and current projects, like a 1-page summary for all of them done. I mean, I have to proof them and make sure that everything's
That'd be great.
on there, but I mean, we could literally have, like, I did a kind of a layout where I thought, you know, we should probably have, you know, it should probably say programs, and then under programs, we have the residential revolving loan fund and the commercial revolving. And then on those pages, you could have, you know, projects, and every one of those sheets, you know, you could have an address, and you could just click on it, and there's your, I mean, not like a lot of information, you know, maybe a before and after and an address, and just, you know, 1 or 2 sentences, you know, they painted and, I mean, I don't know, but,
And you might want to add a little selling of the sizzle to it too, where you like type the tab could be listed successes, you know, FDC successes and
Yeah.
or something to that effect. You've got a lot of tabs up there.
There is, yeah.
So before we get too far into the design element, let's go back to the name for a second. Everybody pretty much agree that we need to change the name?
Yes.
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason I liked Franklin DC is because I think a lot of people remember everything's a DC, and they don't really have to know, like, it's franklinDC.org. And maybe that's confusing, I don't know. That's what I do, is all the DCs, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
you guys need to say if that's too confusing, I guess, but.
DEV wasn't a bad call.
DEV dot corp or dot
.org.
We could, DEVcorp.org is available.
I imagine.
I don't know, that's,
I'd be a little shocked if it wasn't. I did like the one Sandy had, developing Franklin,
Yeah, developfranklin.org.
or develop
Yeah.
I
Franklin.
really like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a statement. It's easy, if you say that to someone, they'll remember that.
Yeah.
When you if I tell somebody, you know, to take a shot at my own suggestion, if I tell something Franklin Dev Corp,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say that more than once to
Yeah,
somebody,
yeah.
and they're gonna have to write it down, but if you just say
Developfranklin.org,
developfranklin.com,
yeah,
or
And
org,
isn't
excuse
that-
me.
That's kind of your mission too.
yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
not too different than Build Franklin.
And the
I mean,
biggest key
Yeah.
is getting people to go to it. So if we make it hard for them to remember it, that's not helping. But if we make it real easy, develop Franklin. It's a statement, it covers it, it's 2 words from the name.
Well, I think Crystal with the Franklin DC, I would think, I don't know why the DC reminds me of Washington DC.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
To know what the
I just really
DC
like the
stands
message that developed Franklin.
I
It just sounds,
I like that.
And the only other one was franklindevelopmentcorp.org. That's
Too much.
Too, but it might be, yeah.
Too much.
too long.
And the thing with TLS, we were with them at Steve's office for several years, and it just got, we were just, it was like $30, $35 a month or something like that, it was really getting me. And then we hired Chris Abney, who used to work for the county, who's now at the hospital, and part-time, and he developed our new website, and I think we're with GoDaddy or one of the.
GoDaddy's like $9.95 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what we are. with
And
it.
it's plenty, you get, with that $10, you get plenty, you're not gonna use it all
Right.
for what we're
What
trying
is
to,
it called?
cause we're just trying to steer.
Till
Squarespace.
Danica
What's
does
that?
her contract, till Danica redoes her contract. That's
First of
why-
all,
How do we
we have the
erase the
budget.
nickels?
We do have, quite a bit in the budget for paying someone to redo the website. We have, I forget, it's a couple $1,000.
I know people, but at the same time, you know, the whole idea, you know, being the fiscal conservative that I am, I don't see as to why it's necessary when, you know, WordPress is perfectly fine, they have all those, and like, I guess they were saying they found some other ones that were.
What is it called?
There's so
Squarespace.
There's so many turnkey ones out there that are inexpensive.
Right.
I mean,
And there's an intangible advantage to those. People are used to seeing those formats, whether they realize it or not, so they know where to go for things, which makes it easier to navigate, which makes people stay on the website longer. If they know where they're going, you know, if you ever walk in a house, it's laid out just like a house that you already know, and it's the
You
same
just
thing.
click on one of those templates and it'll show you more that are just like them.
Oh, okay.
And I think Angie's idea, you know, the first page looks really sterile to me, and I think her idea of putting some, a before and after, even on that
Yeah.
first page would be really good.
Mhm.
so
Well, that's
you can
huge if
see.
you pick one of the really big
Yeah,
projects that
Yeah.
was a huge success.
Mhm. But you could do an embedded video
Mhm.
up at the high end, and it could be just, all it could be is just scrolling before and afters. Before, after of different projects.
and that's easy to drop in.
Yeah, you just host it on just start a YouTube account, host on YouTube, embedded in there, and it's done, and it's free.
Speaking of before and after, that Rogers and Jesse's building is
That's pretty fantastic.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which one?
Good
Rogers
Lord.
and Jesse's, but right down by Ann's. the
That's
law firm,
Cinnamon
that
Road.
one. Well, at least ours is getting some mortar in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it warmer?
It's not all
Does it feel a little
plastic
warmer in
anymore.
there?
Well, and now with it's 50 degrees.
Yeah.
What about the only exercise that gets walking around town?
So I would really like
The
to,
awnings kept the rain off.
I'd really like to go back to the board at our next meeting, and when I do the communication report out, I'd really like to give them with the idea that we go ahead and close the current one and stop paying this ridiculous fee. And even if we don't have the other one up going yet, I still think
Don't
we need to
think it
take it down
matters.
because no one's going to it.
Yeah,
So why
doesn't
spend the
matter.
money? Let's just, put a teaser out there coming soon or whatever, and then get this site built as
Under
quickly as
construction.
possible.
And then you have the links on, somewhere on the top or somewhere, on the face of the new one to the Facebook and the Twitter or whatever we use, because you can link, it's not that high a maintenance, because you can link to Facebook and Twitter to where you post on one, it automatically posts the other one.
This
And
one,
then just put out some sound bites once in a while, it's real
this you
simple.
can do, business phone with unlimited pages for $16 a month, and it comes with the domain name too. So you're buying the
They
domain
host it,
with
they give you the domain name,
Yeah.
and they give you how many pages?
Unlimited.
Wow.
But
Who
it's-
is-
and
what's
it's
the company
16
name we're using
A
now?
month.
$16 a
Yeah.
month.
The
Oh,
one-
TLS.net.
TLS.
They're in Columbus.
Squarespace, you just research, you just
Yeah.
stumbled across them.
Just put in square,
No,
no,
I've used them for different.
Is that what you
things.
said?
Somebody else.
So you do have some experience with it.
Oh, what we're paying,
Well, that sounds like
45,
a winning
something like that.
answer.
43 a month.
43 a month.
It sounds like the right answer.
And
they're
they want
worthless.
$85 an hour to edit it.
Yeah, cause I sent them some stuff to put on the website, and they're like, well, that'll be $85
We
an hour.
thought that's
I
what
was
we
like,
were paying the
"Never mind."
$43 an
Yeah,
hour
right.
for.
For $43, you
And they
can
don't
get
even
some
do it
edits.
anymore.
And then they were like, no, that's.
That's insane.
Yeah, they were supposed to help us with the website and you never got any response, and so we.
Well, I did a
just got
mobile app
this.
for one of my businesses, and it just you couldn't find it in the search, nothing. Anytime I wanted to do something, they wanted to charge me, so and they made it almost impossible to get to cancel the process. There's no way to get, so finally I had to go to the bank and tell them, say, do not pay them anymore. You know what they did? They submitted under another name. So I had to protest it. So some of those companies are just, they're doing it, they're probably doing this, buying this stuff and then middlemanning it. And
We didn't have any trouble canceling with TLS, so I would think that they.
the company I used was Conduit.
I told him today we probably would be canceling, but it wasn't, I'd get back with him. I said, there's a communications meeting tonight, and I have no say in the matter, but I'm going to guess that we may be going elsewhere, so.
I'm tempted to say we should just cancel it now, but
Now, yeah.
I'm almost afraid that, I'm almost thinking it possibly should go to the board,
I would think it should,
Yeah.
so,
since it's
yeah,
I'm paying it this.
just to make sure.
yeah, so,
When is your next board meeting?
Next Thursday.
next Thursday.
Well, that won't be that much. That'll be before April is due, so.
Well, Angie and I talked today, and we think it's gonna be a little bit slow here, the week of spring break. So if you're interested, we would be willing to at least get something started on it for you, work together and at least get a basic start on it. You let us know what you wanna see.
Perfect.
Well,
So
you
we're
can
willing to
work on
get
it and
something
not,
you can
you
kinda
work on
see
it,
it.
not launch it yet.
Yeah.
What you can do.
And we
Send
did a 14-day
screenshots.
free trial too with the Squarespace, so if you want that, we're willing to at least get it up and running. And this, part of the thing with this Squarespace is we were looking for something that's really easy
Right.
for whomever needs to,
Pass, pass,
whoever
pass.
you want to have access to it, to be able to do it easily, so.
You know, you
Absolutely.
could have
Do you
a
have to,
residence, a commercial, and I don't know, I mean, just three pictures of different projects. You could change those, or they could scroll probably, or.
and you'll have to get permission from the board to change the name of the
Right,
website.
I'd probably change the logo to like this.
While you're at it.
yeah.
Upside
Yeah.
down, backwards swoosh.
it's
gonna be-
It's the
not-
same as Leadership Johnson County.
it's not a logo,
Everybody
it's a
else
font.
likes to swoosh.
It's
And Nike
terrible.
You leave the courthouse?
Is that
So,
supposed to represent? Was that supposed to represent anything, or is it just?
Nike.
It just
It
looks.
looks to me like someone made it in one of those basic logo maker software.
I mean, because it's not a logo, it's a
Stop.
font.
I hate it.
It's time.
What is the, is that,
That's
that's it? That's
That's it.
Franklin Development
That's the
Corp,
logo.
that's it?
That's your
I
favorite
think
together.
well, I think that's something that should be done. I think a development of a logo.
I've got that down, that we should probably just have a meeting designated to a
For that.
logo.
And I personally can work on that myself. I do it all the time. So. Submit a few things and people can be
Yeah,
in
so
line.
that could definitely be homework for all of us to be thinking about logo ideas and coming up with them, and maybe at the next meeting we can actually really go through some of the different logo options. And
There's a little bit of a conflict there with Franklin Development and you have the county courthouse. I mean,
Well,
that
but our
is the
ci-
centerpiece of Franklin, I
Our city
understand.
crest has it too, though.
Does it really?
Everyone
Didn't
knows
Fred
The
have
county's?
it?
Yeah.
Our former mayor, they may need to change it, but, you know. But
I mean, that's not a big thing, but I just thought that would be the place where you put the pictures, I mean,
Yeah,
rotating.
Right.
this is cities, I mean, that's,
So is everybody fairly happy with looking into Squarespace as the
Yep. That's nice.
as the new home
see,
for the
that is
website?
so much more aesthetically pleasing,
Yeah, look at
inviting.
it.
Yeah, I mean, that right there is,
I mean, it just looks like, oh wow, look at the information, the calendar right there is great, the scrolling pictures. You know, that to me was a well-done website, honestly.
Wonder who did that?
it's called Ego. Ego?
It's
Okay,
through the,
government.
through the
It's
state.
So it's a
specifically for
turnkey fill in the
municipal.
blank?
It is, it's a, like if you look at, I don't know, there's 30 other municipalities in Indiana that use it,
Yeah.
and they're all just different colors, basically.
It's a good one though. The superimposed city.
so
Yeah, I
you,
mean,
so you wanna get
this
away
is
from the
Vigo.
FDC using that same template, is that what
Kind
you're saying?
of, yeah, I mean, but you can like, we had, you know, RDC, and so you can go, this is my favorite part of it. So you can go to the agenda, and if you wanna read the minutes, they're linked right to the agenda.
Nice.
And there you go, there's the minutes, and if you,
PDF.
I mean, I have to build these, and everybody that does the agenda, we have to do this.
Is it time consuming?
Well,
Yes.
it's less time consuming than photocopying packets for every board member, I'll tell you that, we used to do.
Can you go to franklinschools.org and have you pull that one up? This is one that we did for the school, and we just went through all of this a year and a half ago. You can kind of see what we did with theirs. Pictures aren't coming up yet. That big white area is scrolling pictures. There it comes.
Nice.
Like that too.
And we purposely made it so you should be able to get to everything within 2 clicks. But definitely going with a more visual look, I think, and highlighting some of our, certainly our successes, some of the nice projects, the before and afters, if we have those, and you said that we've got some of
A lot
that.
of them, I think.
Most of them.
That's great. And I would also like to see testimonials in there from some of the people who've used us,
A lot.
you know, homeowners that have used us and businesses that have used us.
To me, that's more
Yeah.
worthwhile on a website than
Right.
it is having a lot of that minutia. And I don't mean to
Right.
put
No.
the minutia down, but I think
Yeah.
there's just too many words on
A
there.
lot
Well,
of
that's gonna
words.
be your reviews, basically, I mean, so.
Nobody
And
wants
you're
to
gonna-
read all that.
Right,
Right.
you're going
It
to,
is doggy,
you wanna pique people's interest to get them
I just,
You
Well, I
can put it
know
on a tab if
contact,
you want.
to
it.
contact you.
There is
Yeah.
a significant amount of redundance in this site.
which seems
Yes.
like, why would you click on community to
Yeah,
find
we
out
didn't
the
build this, so
programs?
you're
Like,
not
you
hurting
can't
our
even
feelings.
find-
And websites, just like reading a newspaper, if you don't capture them in 10 seconds, they're not gonna stay there, they're not gonna look at anything else. So, if we can't grab their attention with that quickly,
Yeah.
it's useless.
Well, and you can have mission and vision under a tab, you know,
Yeah,
someone may be
you have that
interested in
stuff,
but
if somebody
that's-
really wants to read that
right.
deep.
Yeah, if somebody
certainly.
wants to see it, it's there.
Right.
Because
but-
we'll have our agenda and our
You still
minutes
do
and all that stuff
workshops?
available, no one wants to see them, but they're there.
To me, that almost, you can incorporate that into the about us thing and just,
Right.
It's the only
it
workshop
only
they
needs
ever
to
did.
be a
Well, I was
paragraph.
gonna say, that's under a tab, that's
Create a
not
tab
on
that
page
says stuff
one.
you don't wanna read.
I do read all that stuff, but I don't wanna see it on the front page.
Right.
Let's develop.
It's just so sterile, it's not inviting to read it at all.
People who are
Trying to bring developers.
bringing developers in.
Who says that?
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, there was just a lot of stuff on there that, it looked like they were just trying to, I mean, to me, it looks like they were just trying to fill a, what you like to say,
Yeah.
we have
Busy
one,
work,
here it
yeah.
is.
What is that, connectors,
Because it
connections,
just-
what is that?
Contractors.
Contractors.
Merchants, contract, just, you know.
Cause they had
So
the
you have to
application.
be an approved contractor, so they probably did get a lot of calls that said, you know, how do I become an approved contractor, and the answer was, go to the website.
But those are things that, you know, I just think there's ways that you can, people can contact you. I mean, that's part of the reason that we have bodies, you know, I mean, going here and looking at this is okay, but then you've gotta follow through, and it seems like to me they just put too many, there's just too much words on there.
That doesn't work that way.
So to give Angie and Ronnie some direction as they graciously volunteered to help us in a slow time, what are the things that what are the definites that we want to see? We said visual, we want to see more
Visual,
pictures,
a lot of visual.
before and afters.
I thought we should have a calendar with board and committee meeting dates.
Calendar.
Yeah, just like I think a good example of the calendar was the one on the city's website.
Right.
Nice right there on the right, simplistic, click to use.
Do you have a mission statement yet?
This,
Any updates?
well, it's still
What?
Still the
community
staff,
betterment
yeah.
primarily through economic development. Solutions statement.
I think it should clearly state the address and phone numbers, I like that. And what do you guys think about a picture of each board member? You know?
Most
you could have a
websites
tab.
had that. I had the mission statement, meeting dates, even at least a list of board members, committees, and their board members, and then office location, like that should be the about us. That's your general,
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
basics.
I think that a website like this, with those board members, you ought to be able to have some kind of contact information.
Absolutely.
An email address or whatever, but that is their contact.
And that's available through,
How many email addresses does this provide, this website thing you've been discussing?
I'll have to look into that, I don't remember. off the
that's
top
something
of my
we've
head.
talked about.
Sure they
at the board
provide
level, that
some.
we need to have, each board member needs to have an identifiable, email address.
Yeah.
Like at Steve's, it's Stephen@huddlestonlaw.com, so it could be, you know,
It should be
it
the
could be
website.
John@developfranklin.org,
Franklin.org,
you
right.
know?
Exactly right.
So you wouldn't have to give out your personal email
Right.
address.
Well, I think and it may have changed, but even our city, all our city council members, you got so-and-so at Gmail, so-and-so at AOL. I'm like, why don't they just have?
They are now.
They are now, and then
Well,
it can
Some of them
redirect,
refuse to use them.
but it can redirect to their website,
It can,
or to their email address.
it can,
Yeah.
they would have to do that.
I think everyone on our board would be fine with it. I don't think that anyone would be hesitant to have a contact information. I think it's great. Okay, so we've got an about page that's gonna have some of that information. On the home page, for me, I typically like to see the home page be like the news portal. That's where you go and it has some fresh news, then it has your calendar and has all the links that you can go to, but I kinda like having what's new on
Well,
the
you
homepage.
can link your feed from your social media sites to be as read as the main feed there as well. That way you're doing one update at once, it's
Yeah, you
hitting
can-
all of them, and,
If you see what we did on the schools,
yeah.
it runs right on the sidebar. We've got Twitter that runs right on the sidebar there, so you can see what's going on.
Go to, Our Republican, go to-
Nice shirt.
you got another spot, Crystal.
Yeah.
Can you go to johnsoncounty.gop.org?
Oh, you know what we should do? Log on to the healthcare, see if we can get that up tonight.
See if we can sign up for healthcare
Yeah,
tonight.
see if we can
Healthcare.gov?
jump
This is
around.
only an hour meeting, people.
Oh, this is
The-
nice.
The latest news, you know, that, she hasn't updated that, but that's the other thing, like you were talking about, I mean, you could put things that are going on that you've done there with the latest news, but we've got a calendar on there, we've got, you know, lists of people that they need to have, which would be your board members and
Who's
things,
that?
so, I don't know.
Yuck. That Lauren Snyder.
And I think as well as, the latest news blurb like that, if you scroll down on it, I think having like the project of the month and just pick one of our random projects that
Yeah,
we've done
I
and
think that would
highlight
be
that on the
great.
front page.
Yeah.
And just alternate that once a month,
Yeah.
just to keep it fresh so people will wanna come back and look at it.
You can get off that now.
That's a nice page. It's nice.
We had, I don't know if any of you know, you may not, Lou Ziegler, who's from White River Township, his son has a company now called, do you remember that one? Brian, do you remember what it was? You don't know?
I don't know.
I'll have to think about it, but they helped us develop this, cause we were so frustrated with the state party one that we were supposed to be hooked into, that it was awful. So we ended up coming up with this.
Okay, so on the front page, we'll have news, we'll have calendar, we'll have project of the month. I don't think we reinvent the wheel on that one, we just randomly grab one that we have in our success stories and just make that a cover page for that month. What else would you like to see on those, on the site?
It'd be nice to be able to have an area like for agendas and minutes and financial
Right,
reports.
right.
It's a good
What's that?
idea.
Yeah, what's that community organizations there on the side? What was that put there for?
Just, I guess, links to.
Other, like art
Okay,
crafts,
okay.
which I think,
Space filler right there.
well, yeah, space filler, but I think that should be something like, you know,
No, they're already doing, yeah. they
we
just-
should have some sort of list of, sister entities within the community, like Discover Downtown Franklin, Franklin Heritage, all those things, you know, the EDC.
Yeah, especially because we're saying that we're, you know, we're the hub and spoke, so we can
Yeah.
actually put that model on there, I think that'd be a great thing to do. To demonstrate what we're trying to accomplish.
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a space filler, it probably just needs to be its own page.
Yeah.
You know.
And that could,
Just,
I mean, that could go with
uh,
the about us.
Or just, or a tab that says sister organizations or something, or whatever type of, way you would want to describe it.
Would there be a tab to sign up to volunteer for a project if someone wanted to get involved, specifically in a?
Yeah, I
Serve
think
on a
so, I mean,
communications committee?
right now, I've got a list of people who have said they wanted to volunteer for, if we needed anything, any
Yeah.
subcommittees, so I've got a list of, I don't know, 4 or 5 people.
Schools, the scouts, you know, guys come down for an outing to help haul trash or clear a job site or,
Arts Garden.
never know.
I love your facial expressions, Kristen.
She either thought that was amusing or that Dr. Pepper she drank about an hour ago came back together.
Okay.
Did they do anything with the old city hall today, or is that coming up?
Yeah, they voted to continue negotiations with the old post group. And nothing's been decided, but
It'd be a big startup cost, isn't it? Big bunch of
Cause
cash.
there's all kinds of asbestos in there and everything, isn't there?
Actually,
Yeah,
that's
I
what they
think
got,
that's-
and
It's already been
and
cleaned
it's
up.
been abated for mold too.
I thought they cleaned that up, right, that in the mold?
I've seen some mold in the basement, but it's just surface stuff that they need to get back on.
Yeah.
Ronnie's on it. She's
But-
got it all taken
Yeah.
care of.
But the,
I wouldn't go that far, but I
It's-
love it.
to build it out, to put a, due to Board of Health regulations, you know, stuff like that, everything that's gonna build, FEMA's involved in everything now. They'll be involved in it, I mean, they're the ones that have to inspect your boiler every year, and that thing's boiler heated. It's gonna be quite an undertaking to put a brew pub in there.
Yeah, they're talking about doing the restaurant first, phasing it.
Well,
Because
that's
the brew-
most of it,
The brew
kitchen.
pub is the hardest, like the
Kitchen.
most expensive and the most regulation for a brew pub.
Oh,
Maybe
it
for
was-
the brew part.
Kitchen's gonna be pretty,
Getting back to the website for a minute, another thing I think would be a good thing to put on here, and a good segue for Krista here, map of coverage. I know that's been a question for all of us, so we've got maps right there. Is that
Yep.
the-
it's a nice little outline.
so this is the map of coverage that the FDC can,
You might need to turn the lights on.
I've got one over here.
I have a larger one here too, but
Map of coverage.
You wanna explain it, Krista?
so, the areas that are outlined in red, with the yellow stripes, those are the actual TIF districts. There's actually 6, but it looks like 5 because the one on the east side is divided by 44. What that means is those are the areas where the tax increment is collected from. And until we did this combined economic development area in 2008, you could only spend the money in those areas. And now we can spend them in all of the green areas as well.
Oh.
and anything that touches the right of way of these green areas. So, like the North Main Street, that's how the RDC is paying the match for the North Main Street project, because it's in the integrated TIF. South Main Street is included. This is the railroad tracks, this line here, this is like a railroad tracks, but we had to, I mean, obviously, all of these TIF districts had to be linked, so they're all connected by some mechanism or another. Well, there's a larger map here that's a little bit easier to read, but,
Just give me, where's the county, where's the courthouse?
so this is the courthouse right here.
Right there.
Okay. Get up. It's a little bit easier to see here, so this is the courthouse.
Okay.
So what I can tell from the maps that I can find that Craig did on the server, the, area that was basically advertised was just this area here. And it was never really promoted at North Main Street or out by the interstate. Now, obviously, Roger Hill found out about it, and he lives right along King Street here. So, I mean, there's a few exceptions to that, but
The interstate was probably added because they were talking about the new entryway and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff at the time.
yeah, it had to be, because to redo basically this gateway, I mean, that was the, behind the whole gateways and greenways redevelopment study, this was
Now-
basically came out of that.
What was the process to decide what went in the green and what didn't?
I mean, basically it was,
Whose choice?
there was a consultant called Wabash Scientific that we used to, when you create a TIF district, you have to put together a redevelopment study. And there's lots of regulations on what has to be in that, and you have to say what you're gonna use the money for, and so, we got to write a legal description for that, green crazy. That was fun, it's like 20 pages long. And basically, you have to go through, you have to start it at redevelopment commission, you have to take it to planning commission, and you have to take it to city council, and then you have to come back to the redevelopment commission before it's effective. And the law has changed since we did this in 2008. You can't do this anymore. You can't,
Just pick.
well, you can't spend the money outside of the areas where it's collected anymore. Like
Really?
We got this in,
We're grandfathered.
we're basically and we're not the only community, there are lots of communities, but if we go to, we go to different economic development conferences.
So
and
another
things.
community similar to Franklin within the state of Indiana could not do this today.
So on the website, could we have a section on there where you could type in your address and it could tell you if you would meet, if you fall within the area?
That'd be a pretty
You're gonna have,
simple.
yeah, you're gonna have to pay to,
Mhm.
for something like.
I mean, we could definitely have a link to that map, and
You
you
put
could
the
zoom
map in
in,
there and you can
and
zoom in.
you could have, the
Good
major,
idea.
it could be labeled better and that sort of thing, but, yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Because the other thing is that you'd have to include every property that fronts, the east and west and the north and south side of any of those major thoroughfares. So I mean,
Like
a
North
good
King Street,
majority of the
north
city
side
is
of King
covered.
Yeah.
So you're
So if you
saying
have-
that here,
Right, so
that any property
any
that,
property that backs this railroad tracks on
Yeah.
either side would be eligible for our programs.
and any property that on Main
That
Street,
fronts
that's what
north.
they're doing
Uh-huh,
now.
that's how you do
Anything
King Street.
adjacent to.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Anything on King Street, basically all of King Street, all the way out to the interstate.
As a,
This is the homesteads at Hillview, that's why they came in to the redevelopment commission, because they're in the TIF.
as someone that read maps for 2 decades for a living, my suggestion would be get rid of the satellite imagery and go to a very
Oh, we have that, I
sterile-
have that version of it.
Yeah,
I
but
just
the
thought
one if you're gonna put
for
one on
you
the
guys
website, yeah,
to,
absolutely. I mean, I look at it and I
orient
see it,
yourself, yeah.
I mean, I see it fine,
we
but I'm
have
used to reading maps.
50 different versions.
But I would do a very sterile one, and then I would, instead of the hash marks, I would just highlight the whole entire area that falls within the category of just a basic yellow. I try to, I mean,
I just want to be able to explain to you guys
Mhm.
the difference between, this is where the tax increment's being collected, and this is where it can be spent.
I just,
I mean, obviously it can be spent in these areas too, but, and then the names are weird, so you've got like the Franklin East Side Business Park, and then you have the Franklin Tech Park, and then you have the Franklin Business Park.
The reason why I asked about,
I don't know which one.
And for FDC purposes, they don't
It
really
doesn't
need to know
really
details.
matter, no, but it's just for me, like, I'm like, what?
the reason why I asked about the,
Franklin, it used to be Franklin Power Products. Yeah, and then you have Best Buy, that's just what it's called. And then you have Castington, so there's 1, 2, 3 here, 4. And then at one point this was
5, 6.
joined, so this used to be 5 and 6, and then it was amended to just be.
The reason why I asked about the, how is this all laid out, because it just seems somewhat,
It was a best guess, to be perfectly honest.
it's
It was,
spotty, you know what I mean?
It
It's
is,
obviously,
yeah.
so that there had to be some method.
It was just, where do we think that, there's gonna be potential for future projects? And
Right,
And this, track, this is before the school was considering, or right around that time, and we, that's gonna be developed eventually, and we may need to, who knows, and obviously for industrial parks, and then knowing that the interstate, is not, interchange is not what any of us would like for it to look like, knowing that, there may need to be some work there, then making sure, the main part of it
that hotel's gone, that's a huge
was the
plus.
major gateways, so this north and south Main Street, and, the east-west and the north-south. 31 was purposely left off.
Well,
That could be debated why 31 was left off, but.
I personally would, the free market will take care of itself on 31.
And that was pretty much the argument, was that it's not blighted, that it's not, you don't need incentives to
It's
attract
thriving,
people to
it's not
31, it's thriving, and it's,
Right.
the location is good enough that
All it's
it
gonna
doesn't
attract
need
is
incentives.
more corporate.
Go ahead and ask Tom Thompson right now.
I know. I knew you
Go
were
ahead,
thinking
ask
that.
him.
I knew you were thinking
Go ahead
that.
and ask him.
This was in 2008, before everything fell apart.
Yeah, because he can't tap into the,
No.
Any other questions on the map before we get back into the website?
Pretty simple.
But yeah, I would like to have,
Mhm. Guess we're spending $1 million or so.
well, now wait a minute, cause you're where? You're here? Even if you,
is that a Chrysler thing? Do they come in and
they don't
say?
even, even if you cut, like if your property line abutted here.
Well,
then
doesn't
you
Tom own this part back here?
Doesn't he own
No.
all?
Yeah, but that's under a separate corporation.
Yeah. We tried.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What else would you like to see on the website? Christie, you had a question now.
Yeah, I think a program overview for each program, so you don't have to read the whole, just generally, this is for residential, and you have to be in this area, and it's this amount, and I guess a lot of that is, make sure we're gonna continue these programs. And
What I like to see on those is I like to see a main, small paragraph blurb
Mhm.
with the read more tab, that if they want more, they can
Yeah.
continue, but they
And
can
then
get the gist
actual-
of it, or cliff notes of it.
Here are all the guidelines, or the program requirements, or whatever you wanna call them, and an application,
Bullet points.
Well,
for the-
yeah,
You
but
don't need the
just a brief.
narrative, you just need the
Yeah.
bullet points.
And then I would like past projects or current projects, or, before and afters.
Before and afters, got that.
Yeah. I think annual reports are really good to give an overview of the organization, and there was, I think, one annual
Yes,
report
one.
done
Yeah.
in 2010.
I remember that one, yeah.
So
And
I
that's
think
one of
those
the
need
things.
to be start being
Remember,
done.
that was one of the things, one of the options that we had for the, on the questions, how they wanted to get their
Yeah.
information, and that was one of the things, was a annual.
That's just a good, I think for me, like if I can go to an organization and I wanna just, if there isn't an executive summary, I can see what did they do last year, and what are your program, you can just get a really quick overview of basically whatever, it lists your board of directors, it lists your committees, it lists
Right.
how much money you spent and what your programs are, and it's just a good summary, and I think we need that on our website, for
So
sure.
a programming tab, and then it has a